I'm Rob, an alcoholic. Been through the process, big book step study sponsor, a loving higher power, and a few amends, and work 10, 11, and 12 in my life every day. This nervous energy sucks. I've jumped out of airplanes and it didn't feel this bad. Oh shit, yeah. I'm Rob, an alcoholic, like I said. Alcohol is a big part of my story, but drugs are also a large part of my story. I grew up in a family of 5 kids with a mother and father that were mental and physically abusive their whole life. They just didn't know any better. They don't know what they don't know. And from the only memory I have of my child, I like block shit out for my whole life. And the only memory I have of when I was real little was like 6 or 7, 5, 6, 7. And I remember sitting on the porch by myself feeling different and alone. And that's like the only memory I have of my childhood. Nothing good with my father or my mother. It was just, I never wanted to be where I was. So, I have an older sister, and she used to hang around with unruly crowds all her life. And they like to watch the little kids get high and watch them bump into things and act like little jackasses. So, and I loved it. I loved it when they did that, and because it made me feel different and feel like I belonged a little bit somewhere. So at 8, 9 years old, I'm smoking pot and drinking beers, and already getting in trouble at 12 and 13, expelled from schools, almost arrest. And it just took off. From like when I was 11 and 12 years old, kids would sneak out and have someone buy them beer, and I'd be the one racing to get to that 4th one before the other guy got to his 3rd. I was an absolute pig right from the word go. Nothing. The only thing that ever comes in my mind is more, more, more when I touch anything. Anything that feels good. Anything. Did I know I had a problem? No, I just knew it made me feel good. I'd love to sit here and say in hindsight I was screwed, but I mean, back then I just didn't know. I didn't know. I thought everybody did that. And so I mucked along. I was like an odd duck growing up, tiny little shit. I weighed like 110 pounds, 130 graduating high school. And people picked on me, and I just never fit in anywhere. Wasn't that great in sports. I mean, I never felt like I fit in anywhere. Not my family. I was actually talking about this with someone last night. Not in my family, not at school, not at home, not anywhere. I just never fit in. I felt that in my head. It was all in my head, but that's what I felt. So, I even in hindsight, I know I was a mess because, most people aren't freebasing cocaine at 13 years old and smoking pot every day and doing acid and all the crazy shit I was doing. Thumbing a Hampton Beach at 13 years old and staying for 3 days on the beach with no money. That wasn't a good weekend. All crazy, anything to take me out of myself. I hated sitting around thinking. And it just wore me down. And through the years, I've always been resourceful. My father left when I was very young, and my mother worked all the time. So my older sister and we raised the other 3 kids. From like 11 years old on, I was a built-in babysitter. And so we learned to grow up real quick. And so all the stuff around us, we were very street smart and could figure shit out real fast. And who the hustle was on. It was like a hustle my whole life. It sucked. And I mucked along. I always did enough. I always did just enough to get by all my life. High school, never showed up, barely grad. I never took a book home ever in my life. There was no one pushing me to do it, and I didn't care to do it. So, skimmed through high school, graduated by the skin of my teeth, had to go to 3 extra weeks because all the days I missed. And even back then, at like 16 years old, I had aunts and uncles and people telling me, "You got a problem." And I said, "No, I don't." I was like, I was the only one that didn't know. Everyone else knew about me. And so I figured, when I was 18, I just graduated, and the drugs took off real bad. I worked with a guy that was selling all kinds of shit, and it just became a horror show. I was jammed up 24/7. And so I said, I got a great idea. I'll just go in the Marine Corps. And never told my family. Went down, signed up, and just went and took a bus to Boston and disappeared. And it worked great for about 13 weeks of boot camp when I couldn't get anything. And then as soon as I got to school, I got out, came home, got ripped. And kept going, and then I ended up meeting if you either do one or two things when you're going to serve: become a holy roller or a drunk. And I wasn't a holy roller, and it was worse there because I ended up hooking up with the drug NCOIC, so I didn't have to take piss tests for 4 years. Destroyed, demolished. I did drugs in other countries that would probably kill most people. I was like a horse. And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and still not fitting in there. Didn't fit in there. I wasn't a jock. I wasn't a hard-pressed. Only thing I ever did good was work hard. I was always a hard worker. And so I mucked along. I barely got through there. I had 5 office hours and 2 court martials in 4.5 years, and I still got out with an honorable discharge. All because of the work thing. It's all about who looks good in the Marine Corps. It's very political. And I worked real hard and made other people look real good. So they always stuck up for me. I should have been kicked out after 2 offenses, and I ended up hanging around for almost 7. So I get out of the Marine Corps, and I come back here and still not able to fit into society whatsoever. I went through many jobs. Every job I had, I've had hundreds of outstanding jobs that people would die for. And I'd go there for a year. I hate this place. Go there somewhere else. I hate this place. Go there I went back to jobs 3 times, other jobs. Just never, ever, ever happy where I was. But in the process of that, I don't think I slept 2 days out of 4 years, and I was like mental. I did drugs to go to sleep. I did drugs to stay awake. I did drugs to wake me up in the morning. I drank all day. It was like I was an animal. It never stopped. Never ever content or happy in anything in my life, anything. And so then I started doing. My older sister was a heroin addict, and I used to be a real hypocritical prick, and I ain't as bad as her. Well, I got as bad as her, and that shit brought me to my knees in 3 years, real bad, and where I had a gun in my mouth and I didn't want to live anymore, and I was just too chicken to pull the trigger, and that was 3 years before I got clean. And I mucked it along, and the only thing that kept me alive was my son. I didn't want him to grow up like I did, with no father. And that kept ringing in my head and kept ringing in my head. And I wanted to quit using drugs and alcohol at least 5 years before I did. I had no idea how. I was afraid I wouldn't have a life without it, but it owned me so bad I didn't have a choice. I wasn't volunteering anymore. It was a fact. I had to do it every day, and it didn't matter. And every night I'd be in bed crying at 5 a.m. Please God, don't let me do this again tomorrow. Please God, don't let me do this again tomorrow. Please God. And then at 8 o'clock, there I am again, doing it again in the morning. and I couldn't figure out why. And the frustration and despair just kept building and building and building to where I said, to hell with it, I'm just going to go full fucking blown. Oh, sorry, I'm trying not to swear. This is tough. I went full blown and just went mental, and thinking that would kill me, and that didn't kill me. I mean, listen, all the years I did drugs and alcohol, I did it to make me feel better. And somewhere along the line, it stopped making the pain go away. And once the pain stopped going away, there aren't many options. There's not many options. So I got forced into detox. I was taking my 4-year-old son to dope houses and crack houses, and someone saw me. And so they said, you're either going to be homeless. So the family got together for like an intervention and said, you're homeless or you're going away for 30 days minimum. So I did it. And I wanted to get clean for a long time anyway. But I still had that reservation in the back. I'll just shut all these assholes up and I'll come back and I'll just pick. And that was my thought. But I went in there and, all the commitments come up there. And eventually, for some strange reason, my ears opened and my mouth shut. And I started listening. And I said, oh, you know what? I've been trying to do this forever by myself and it hasn't worked out, so I'll just hang with some of these people and maybe it'll work. So back in '98, I got clean and sober. And I was relatively happy for a year or so. And but I wanted to run the show my way. I didn't want to give it all up. I didn't want to give up my will because I mean, or maybe I did. I don't, in hindsight, maybe I did. I just didn't know how. I didn't know. I just didn't know. I was so stupid and naive. I didn't know anything of what I was doing to myself. I was like a little kid. Just figuring this shit out. Just getting clean was a bonus, and eating real meals every day was absolutely phenomenal to me. I'm in detox and laughing and having a ball because I'm eating again. Everybody else is bitching about the food. I'm like, you guys don't want it, I'll eat yours too. And I'm like, I was really grateful right from the beginning. It was weird. So I did that, and I went through NA. I was in open NA for many years, and I had some really great friends. I have some really great friends there. Not as stringent on doing the steps as this is, though. I was a miserable bastard. A few years into it, there was brief moments of, I'll say happiness, if that's what you want to call it. Never once. I didn't do any steps till I did this process, and that was in the last year and a half, 2 years. And I was a wisecracker. Oh, yeah. They used to say, oh, you're not really a card-holding member until you do the 4-step, and I'd come back with some kind of shit comment. Yeah, it says right in the book, I'm a member as long as I say I am. And I was like a real jackass about it. And oh, no, you guys tell me not to dig up the past. It's going to hurt you. Why would I want to do a 4-step? And I was like a real jerk about it. And the only one that suffered was me. Everybody else is just sitting back going, yeah, One day you'll listen and you'll figure it out. But I'm lazy. Not lazy. If it's something I want to do, there's nothing stopping me. If it's something I don't want to do, it's quite the opposite. And I just didn't feel like doing the steps, and I didn't know that it was having such an effect on my life. So, flash forward 15 years, clean and sober, I'm standing on a ledge ready to jump. And with nothing to make it go away. I couldn't take drugs or alcohol because I refused to do that. And it was like a spot where I was really helpless. I didn't know what to do. I had no idea what to do. And a friend, my good spiritual friend, Joe F., he come and got me and brought me to church. So I started going to this church, and it was like the first time I ever fit in anywhere. This guy, the pastor there, it felt like he was talking to me. And every week I got something really great out of it. And so I started that, and I really, I'd love to sit here and say I'm the spiritual giant, but I'm really not. I'm up until like 2 years ago when all that crap hit the fan. I prayed sporadically. I prayed when crap was hitting the fan, and never ever thank him, or I was like ungrateful. And this, not very appreciative of what I have. This is such a gift. And all the other crap don't mean anything. It really doesn't. It means nothing. So I started going to church and doing all of that, and still all my friends, you got to start a first step, and I didn't want to, and I mucked along. I got really, really close to God in the last 2 years, and that changed some of my attitude, but I still had all those character defects and horror and my will, and it was just painful. It was painful to live, and it wasn't fun at all. And so about 2 years ago, I met this girl, and she was in these big step study meetings, and I had been brought here 3 years ago, and I said, fuck them. I've been cleaner than 80% of them, and I can't shit it. Kiss my ass. And I thought my opinion was so important. And so I never came back. I just didn't come back. And then when this girl, I'm a follower. I've never been a leader at anything in my life. She says, come on, I go to this meet on Wednesday night. And I went up to Pleasant Street with her, and I sat there listening. Still in the back of my head, I'm going, no, absolutely not. And so I went for a few months with her, and I just listened for the very first time in my entire life, because I don't listen very well. I have a real hard time with that one. And I started listening, and wow, this guy sounds happy. That guy sounds happy. That lady sounds happy. Everybody. Never once did I hear someone whining. I'm like, holy shit, there's got to be something here. And so I stopped seeing that girl, and I kept going. And I got a sponsor. And he pushed me through the steps, because I tried to get lazy a few times. He said, you're not doing God's will if you're not working. Nope. You want to be happy, you want to be right. I'm like, shut up. And he like, I started getting lazy with it, and he pushed me along and gave me a deadline. And I'm like, come on. And I'm good with deadlines. I do meet that stuff. And so I did all the work, and I got, well, that was just in the fourth step, and then the other stuff was a little more. But I mucked along, and I got it done. And about a month ago, I finished it. And I got to tell you, no comparison. Fuck is this? No comparison in my life. Not one iota. It's like it was a month ago. And that's not my doing. This last month has been like, everything is just falling together. The level of happiness is like unimaginable. Unbelievable. All the same shit's all around me, but I don't feel it. And that's what I've been looking for forever. There's no drug that can give me this. And this process is I share this process with everyone I know. Everybody that's in NA, AA, not clean, straight. I share this with them, and they look at me and they just, who are you? I was a miserable prick forever. I mean, Steve gave me a coin and he shared, and I didn't even know Steve. And he come up there, and I used to go to the morning meetings up at AdCare, when shit was hitting the fan, and shit always felt like it was hitting the fan. So I went all the time. And and I'd see Steve. I didn't even know Steve was at that meeting, and he'd give me a coin, and he had me pegged right from the front, and he knew me better than I knew me. And I'm like laughing. He goes, "Yeah, Rob was unapproachable. That's the word." I was never talked. I was miserable. I never smiled. I was just unhappy for a long time. And this process has opened my eye. My world was this big. I had nothing. I was so closed-minded and just distant. I didn't want to engage with anything. All right, we'll go to 6 and 7 now. When I did my 6th and 7th, the day before I sat down with Brian and read my last day of the 5th, and I had to go do my hour. I found out my best friend's wife had died, and supposedly my ex-wife had cancer. That's another story. We'll talk about that one. But I was like distraught at best, and I couldn't focus for 2 seconds. And so he told me to go do my hour, and I'm sitting. I went down the lake, and it ended up being 20 degrees out. I'm sitting out there in the cold, and I'm like, wow, this sucks. And I couldn't focus, and I knew I wasn't going to do good when my mind was racing, and I couldn't really get close to God. So I sat there and tried for the hour. I came home, I said, this didn't work. It wasn't right, because I want to do this right. So I waited like a couple weeks till my mind was clear, and I blew Brian. Oh yeah, I'm doing my amends. Oh yeah, I'm writing. I didn't do anything because I knew it wasn't in order. I wanted to do everything in order. So and then I went and sat for an hour when my head was clear, and begged God to remove these shortcomings, because that's the only thing I know I can't do it. I still have such issues. And at the same time, I'm not perfect. I know He's not going to remove them all tomorrow or today. Some days He does, though. Some days they're gone. And at the end of the day, I just get a little giddy because I can't believe I went a whole day without acting like a jackass. and it's like phenomenal. I mean, who would have thunk it? I used to act like a jackass just to be condescending. It was like part of my persona. I thought it was funny. Everybody else thought I was an asshole. And but there's like certain ones that are still there, the ones you don't even know about. And like I'll just say something. The great thing about texting, I texted someone something this yesterday, and it hurt her feelings, and I know it did. And I didn't even know it. I didn't even know I was doing that. I had no clue. I was really in my mind trying to say something genuinely happy for her, and it just came out wrong. And the great thing about texting is you can read it. And I went back and read it and went, ugh. And it was like awful. And those indirect ones are just, it just flows off my tongue sometimes, or writing or talking on the phone. And the big character defects are very easy because they're very glaring and you know when they're coming. But with God's help, the other one will get better. All I know is I'm like 170 degrees the other way. I'm not all the way where I want to be. I'm not even close. I don't ever want to get there because my head will swell and then I'll mess up. Because that's me. I'll start thinking I did it. And I haven't done anything. I just came for the ride. Once again, I fell onto something. It fell in my lap. And I just went with it and followed other people. And everything in my life has changed. And when I first got clean, they used to say, the only thing, you only have to change one thing, everything. And I used to say, right, that's going to happen. I'm clean now. You guys owe me. And now I mean, this process has been, I think everyone should have to do it, the whole world. I'm so grateful for this stuff. It's like, just sitting around thinking of some of the stuff that I think about. No regular human being will ever think about it. About getting myself better. I'm talking about the chaos too. Nobody would think of some of that shit too. But all I know is this: if you're writing or reading or even just sitting in this chair, if you do this process, instant gratification. The minute, I swear, this last month, since the day I quit. And it was funny, because I always hear people, I had the spiritual awakening, blah, 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 and I never got that. I just didn't get that. I mean, I realized how much of an ass I had been and not knowing it. Reading that fifth step to my sponsor. And 50 years of people telling me, you need help, you need a psychiatrist, you need this, you're too abrasive, you're barbaric. I've heard them all. They were too loud, and never believing it. And then I had to read what I wrote. And then I'm going, holy shit, they were right. Oh my word, am I a jerk? I can't believe how bad I've been all these years. This process is set up so perfectly, it's unbelievable. All I know is if you're reading or writing, keep reading and writing, and get your ass in gear. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. It's easy to, like right now, I'm saying that because I'm mad at myself because I've been making excuses why not to write more on my amend. And I'm going to go home and write tonight. I have to. Because I'll keep making excuses. As soon as I get away with it one day, I just keep going and going and going. It's like, I'm going to get clean Monday. I'm going to get clean Monday. And 12 years later, I'm going to get clean Monday. And I am so grateful for this and all the people here. And thank you.